Hello, Nikki.
Hey.
Nice to have you. Um, I always love talking to people from Massachusetts. So I
Mhm.
was excited to hear you're from up there because, I spent 6 years, 7 years off and on up there over the years
Wow.
and always on the South Shore. And I loved it up there. It was such a cool area.
Yeah, I'm a South Shore girl. That's where I'm from.
Yeah. You don't say exactly where, but whereabouts?
Um, I'm from Weymouth. Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Weymouth. That's George Young is from Weymouth originally.
Yeah, the movie Blow. Yep.
Yeah, yep. I
Mhm.
had this guy Larry on my show back in a couple years ago. We went to Quincy College together in Plymouth, and I was in night school as an 18-year-old because I worked during the day. And a lot of people in night school they have full-time jobs. And this guy Larry, he's in his 40s, and I didn't know much. We talked and we were friends. We got friends on Facebook back in like 2005, and I followed him through the years, and then I realized he's an NA. And I got clean up, realized his posts. I'm like, oh, he's in the program too. And he had like 20 years. Like, I gotta have him on my show. I want to hear a story. And we talked for over 2 hours. Told me some of the best stories. He's like, "Oh, I'm from Weymouth, and I did coke back in the '80s." I'm like, "Did you get coke from like George Young?" He's like, "Oh yeah, Georgie, yeah." I'm like, "Man, that's awesome." What's your clean date, Nikki?
So it is October 8th of 2024.
October 8th. Oh, so you're coming up on a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, so we're recording October 1st. So a week from tonight, you're gonna have 1 year. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, what were you doing? What was going on? My second favorite question to ask. Well, I love hearing people's clean dates.
Mm-hmm.
So my second favorite question to ask is, what was happening on October 7th of last year?
So so basically I had been sober for a long time before this past relapse. And so on October 7th of last year, um, DCF, somebody filed a 51A on me. And so DCF got involved. My son luckily was able to go with my mother. So she took him to her house, and I was just so done. I mean, once you've relapsed and you've had some clean time and you've been in recovery, it's never the same again. So
Yeah.
I, my whole relapse, every day I was like, I'm getting sober tomorrow. So October 7th, I was just like, I'm getting a bed wherever a bed is open, I'm going. And I was just like, I'm not gonna like lose my son over this. There's no way. It's because it happened to me before.
Yeah, I know what you mean about getting some time under your belt and then you relapse and you get some time and this such a weird feeling of like are you in any kind of 12 steps? Is that kind of your background when it comes to being recovery?
So yeah, the foundation of my recovery was
Yeah,
AA.
me too.
Steps. This like that much right now. I'm not like a meat and maker every day. Like I do have two kids. Like I am pretty busy. Foundation of it, yeah.
Yeah, but still, when you first get clean or sober, however you want to call it, sober AA, clean NA. Because
Hmm.
I first got sober and then now I'm clean.
Hmm.
um, you know, it's weird because I got sober, but my recovery started in 2018, right? April 2018. Got sober, so I went through AA. I went on opiates for a decade at that point. Drinking 20 years and just ready done. And went through AA, had an amazing experience. My first year was amazing. Um, and then I started drinking again because I had resentments against my AA group. So I started drinking again. And I drank for a little while. And then I got, the problem is you trick yourself. You're like, all right, but no, I'm still working the steps. I'm still doing this. I'm okay. And then it unravels, and when you're fucking up every single day because all the cliches and all the books and how it's so what you're doing, and
Yeah.
that's the worst part. So how long were you in recovery then, before you relapsed?
So I had like 2.5 years, and then I had 18 months. So I got so I've been in a million programs like detoxes, halfway houses, sober houses, treatment centers since like 2008 is when I
Okay.
started trying. But it was mostly just because I was like forced to because of
Yeah.
probation, parole, whatever it was. And but I didn't actually find recovery till 2000, and I went away to the treatment center and I got a scholarship, and then that's when I stayed sober for almost 2 years. So 2017, like to now, I've just had like I had those 2 relapses, but this last one lasted me 10 months, that's a long time for me now.
Yeah.
Recovery. I don't stay out there that long. I'm like, it's.
So, you're originally, we're gonna backtrack, then we'll work our way back up. You're Weymouth, South Shore, Massachusetts. Born and raised, I imagine.
Yeah.
Brothers or sisters, siblings wise, growing up?
The sister and an older brother. My brother passed away, so it's just me and my sister now. She's 4 years older.
Oh, 8 years older?
Yeah.
Okay. And siblings, or not siblings, your parents, what's that like growing up?
My parents are still married. They've always been. I mean, my house was chaotic. It definitely wasn't normal.
Yeah.
But I needed.
Yeah, I was the same way with me. I'm the oldest of 3. My parents stayed together until the day my dad died. So, it was never needed for anything. My parents were very happy around me, didn't really fight. They weren't drinkers, So I know it's like to grow up where I wasn't. It was chaos with my brother and my sister. We all played sports that are all running around and, but we didn't like have to watch anything crazy with my parents. When did you so what was your introduction to drugs and alcohol then? Like how old were you?
So I was probably 11, 12 when I started with like weed and pills and liquor. Like I would steal liquor from my mother, or my parents smoked weed, so I would steal from them like little roaches that they would leave behind. And we would like go to the Burger King play place down the street from my house. That's how, like we were young, and we would sit in there and smoke. Yeah, so I was very young. Like I was going into people's medicine cabinets, and I guess I just grew up around it, so it made me curious.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I was the same way, where it was more of a curiosity, where I just was like, I wonder what that's like. I wonder, I watch a lot of movies. I was like, I wonder what it is like that field drink, why people do this, and, stole my parents' liquor. And then eventually I started drinking. I'm like, I wonder what cigarettes are like, and I'm like, go from there. Like my mom still never smoked a day in her life, a cigarette. And my dad never smoked a cigarette in his life either. And I smoked for 25 years. So, because you're a year older than me, I believe, because of your email.
Yeah, I turned 40 this year.
Yeah, okay. And I just turned 39 the other day. So, thank you. So I know what it's like to grow up around that time of the mid-90s, and you said Burger King Play Place, and I was like, Burger King Play Place, that took me back. It was more of a curiosity. Now, did it ever like bleed into your school or anything like that, like growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I had like a learning disability. No, I definitely had a learning disability. I was diagnosed with that at an early age. And yeah, I just never really did well in school. So I think maybe when I started, it intensified it. But I wasn't well behaved. Like I was fresh. Like I used to swear, I steal, I would do all types of horrible things that it's just not normal for a little girl to be doing.
Yeah. Yep. Let's say you were getting into trouble then. Were you getting like suspended from school?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot. I don't know. I just liked any attention. Negative attention is better than like nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe just because of everything that was going on at home. And maybe because like I did well in school. I didn't feel like I was like smart. So I would just lash out in other ways and maybe like deflect a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense though to me. Just to kind of get attention too. Like not get attention, but like you want the certain kind of attention. Yeah. You don't want somebody to see this, so you have them see this about you.
Right.
Yep. Were you like cutting class? That was my main thing. I would just walk out of school.
Yeah. Junior high and stuff. I would just school and come back maybe at the end of the day or not. Like I would
Yeah.
just like go to my friend's house, would go swimming because nobody would be home. Like, oh, would just go into the woods and smoke weed and then just take the bus home. I
Yeah,
would
there was
just
no coming back for me. Once I left, I left. Once I left, I left.
there was a point when I ended up like they have a chins in Massachusetts. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's like a child in need of, I think it stands for. But they came and like had to take me out of the home because I just like wouldn't go to school, or I was just getting in trouble all the time, and I had to go live at this program for 30 days.
Really? Is it like a delinquent thing? Like,
Yeah, like that, like bad juveniles. But they were working, so it was just me to learn like other behaviors. They was there for stealing cars and doing all types of shit. I was just there for not going to school.
Yeah. Yeah, you were there for the minimum, for the minimum thing.
Yes,
Um,
is to like introduce you to kids that are worse than them.
yep. Were you ever bringing alcohol or like smoking? So you were going to school high or drunk then?
Yeah, yeah. I got
And
it for smoking weed in school. I don't know why I would do it in school, and obviously it smells. And so like I was caught red-handed, and then I was shipped out to like a alternative school where I stayed until I graduated.
that was high school.
Yeah, yeah, I somehow graduated high school, but I think it was because I was able to go to a school with all other like delinquent kids, and they just it was impossible to not graduate. Like they made you didn't really have a choice.
Oh, so was it like a boarding school kind of thing?
No, not a boarding school. Just like a smaller school where like, the bad kids go, that was down the street from the regular high school. But I could also leave school early, and I worked at a daycare, so I'd only have to go to school from like 8:30 to like 12, and then I left and went to my job.
Yeah, if they keep you any longer, you're gonna end up leaving anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
How old were you when you started working at it? It sounds like you were working at a young age.
Yeah, I was probably 16, 16 and
I know I started working young too, and it was so I could afford my habit.
yeah, I had a job when I was 14. I don't even know if kids worked at a Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, I was 14. I was working under the table doing doing telemarketing.
Oh, yeah, paycheck when you're 14 is like crazy. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
yeah, they handed me cash. They would hand us cash.
yeah,
There
no
was a
tip.
bunch of us from school that worked there, and they would just hand us cash every day and work like 4 hours a night. We were like we would be calling you when you're eating dinner. This is back when telemarketers, call you blindly. Well, they still do, but I feel like it was worse in the '90s than it is today.
Oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
everyone has caller ID on their phone now. You know if it's a scammer, you know what I mean. You don't got to answer.
Especially
So
scams.
what's that?
A lot of times it'll say scam likely on my
Yeah,
phone. That's how.
that's how it is on my phone too. Yeah, but back in the day, you don't have caller ID. You don't know what was coming in. And you just answer the phone, and you're like, oh, son of a bitch. um. So yeah, but I got a job just so I could afford my smoking and my drinking. My parents, they never gave me money, $5 a day because that's what it was for cigarettes, $5 a day, and all that. But you graduated on time,
I actually graduated. Yeah.
and so you must have graduated 04?
Oh, 03.
03. Okay, so you're a year older than me, but you're 2 grades. Yeah, I'm older for my grade. You must be younger for your grade.
Yeah. My birthday's in February. Yeah. So I guess
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah. Now how it all because Massachusetts, our age, the mid 2000s was crazy for like Oxy.
Oh yeah. I,
When did it really fall off, for you? Because it sounds like you were like getting in trouble anyway, but it sounds like it unravels even more eventually.
yeah. Right in high school. I think it was my junior year, maybe senior year, is the first time that I got into OCs, but they were too expensive for me. So I did them a few times, but it wasn't a hard, like difficult decision for me to heroin. It was cheaper, but people weren't doing it like that back then. It was kind of there was only a few of us. And my friends, when they found out, they were like flipped out. They like told my mom. it was like a big deal. They thought that there was like such a huge difference from OCs to heroin for some reason. To me, it was the exact same thing.
Well, that's
Just
because you knew it from firsthand.
yeah,
You knew firsthand that the experience and the feelings were exactly the same. But people from the outside, heroin's this dark, dark drug, which it is. But they saw OCs as, oh, I'm just, taking a pill and it's no big deal, and not
yeah.
realizing that it's heroin in a pill. Yeah. So the OCs were so new in the early 2000s. That's around the time you would have, experienced it for the first time. But it's funny that you realized that they were too expensive for you back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, they were $80 a pill, unless you were buying in large quantities, which at convenience.
They were charging $1 a milligram already.
Yeah, yeah. Unless you were buying a lot, But I wasn't doing that. I was buying like one at a time.
Yeah, no, that's a lot. That is a lot because in Jersey, because I grew up right outside of Philly in Camden, and South Jersey, and it was 50 cents a milligram back in like 2008 when I first started.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go down. This was like 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit more, especially I think.
What was that? Your audio keeps cutting out. What was that? What was that, Nikki?
I think this was like 2003, like when they first kind of came on the scene. So I think that people could get that type of money, but then as people started to heroin, I think maybe that's when people started bringing down the price. So like, well, people, the same thing. People are going to go for this because it's cheaper. They want to save money. Drug addict.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That makes sense. Yep. So you switched to heroin pretty fast then. Were you in high school still, you said?
Yeah, it was like the end of high school.
Okay. And did you snort it the first time, smoke it?
I never smoked it because I think like nobody does that in Massachusetts really because we don't have like that like black tar. It was so I sniffed it, and then I mean it didn't take me long to start.
That's what I was going to ask. How long it took you before you graduated to needle?
It was probably like a couple of weeks because I a
Were you,
lot.
were you hanging out with people older than you?
Yeah, well, so I got introduced to heroin from a guy who was at the time probably in his mid to late 40s. And he was like a Vietnam vet. He was a booster. So I used to take him and I would drive him to Rentham Outlet or wherever around here. And he was really good. Like, and he would get tons of stuff. And he shot heroin. So I was like, will you help me? And he kind of like showed me how to do it.
So you were like 18 years old hanging out with some guy in his mid 40s.
Yeah. Yeah. I met him on the train and I don't know how we got into the conversation that he's a booster and he needed a ride. And I was like, okay, well, I can get a car sometimes. So
He's back on the T.
yeah. Yeah.
That's so, oh my God, that's so funny to me that he like, and all he wanted from you was a ride.
Yeah. And he would pay me and then we'd get drugs and we would split them. And yeah, I mean, he would get all types of stuff. He would go to like Williams Sonoma and come out with these, $800 pants that get fur coats, coach. Like he looked normal when he would go in the stores. He looked like, someone's dad. He'd have a nice like dress shirt on, some dress pants, maybe like a pea coat or something. And he would go in and sometimes most of the time I didn't have to do anything. I would sit in the car, but sometimes he'd be like, I'm going to call you. I need you to open the door and I'm going to come out. And we just, pretend like we don't know each other. And he's, thank you. I'm like, you're welcome. And then I'd do a loop around the store and then come out and then we'd go in the parking lot and we would get on the highway, we'd go right back to South Boston where he had somebody, he would just fence all of it to. So it wasn't like, run around trying to sell stuff to people. We would just go to this one guy, he'd take everything. Most of the time he would take everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he have any crazy stories about Vietnam?
He never would talk about it. No, he would never talk about Vietnam. And his friends, there was like a group of them, and they were just all mad.
Yeah, I would imagine. Vietnam was a dark time.
One of them he had like 2 fingers on one hand. They were nuts.
And that was how he made his money, was just robbing. That's crazy. And and this was the mid 2000s, and you were just like, I have a car. That's so funny. And so, how long did that go on for with that guy?
Like a couple of years, probably like 2 years.
Oh shit!
Yeah, yeah. This
Did
was like
he,
a week, sometimes a couple times a week.
he ever get caught?
I don't think so. He ended up getting sober. He real bad. He got really sick, and he now, but he did getting sober while I was still.
Oh, so he stopped because he knew he something was wrong with his health.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But then I think
And,
and I'm pretty sure he died from an overdose, but I'm not sure.
and oh, so he eventually did die.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when he stopped, you didn't want to get sober. You were only like 20, 21 years old at the time, right?
Yeah.
And were you still living with your parents?
Yep. Yeah.
They have
Which is
any idea what was going on? Were you working?
no, I wasn't working, but it was pretty obvious when they would see like track marks. And I would always like tell my mom what was going on. So I'm sure in Massachusetts we have Section 35s, which is like a civil commit, and you can go. It usually has to be a family member, but sometimes it doesn't have to be, or like a doctor or some professional can go in and petition the court to hold somebody an addict. At the time, it was up to 30 days. Now I think that's up to 90 days. You can hold them and say that they're a harm to themselves or other
Mm-hmm.
people. So once my mom figured that, she would do that. She would say to me all the time, and then I would just use drugs with.
You just meet more people.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't even like think I was an addict at the beginning. I just thought I would. I don't know.
It's funny. I was going to ask that. Like, I knew I was an addict pretty quickly. I knew within a couple months. They're like, this is a little too much, but maybe I got a problem here.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you? Because like from like junior year in high school when you first did heroin
Mhm.
until when? How long did it take you back in from 2002 until you realized you were an addict?
Um, I think around like 25. I don't know. It's hard because like I did know it was that I always knew like I was a drug addict. I was an addict. Like I had a problem, but I thought that I could stop it. And whenever I wanted, I was like, I just don't want to stop. And for me, I never had a normal life. So I never like planned on going to college. I thought that I would even live past 22. So it was just normal to me. I'm like, I'll stop when I want to stop. I would go to these like, I would see people who had kids and they lost their children, they were prostitutes, they were homeless, they were criminals, they were like in jail all the time. I'm like, I'll never get that bad. So it's like I knew I was an addict. I just didn't think I was as bad as like the other people, like compared to myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because you haven't lost everything yet.
Yeah, I still like lived at home with my parents. I didn't have any kids at the time. I had nothing to really lose in a sense that I thought.
And how long did it take until you got arrested eventually?
Um,
And I feel like that's coming up in your story.
yeah, I think when I was like 25, 20, no, maybe like 24, I got arrested.
Okay. And what happened that day?
Um, I was with a running partner. He was just like this guy that I used to get high with. I don't like consider them like relationships. I just always had a running partner, and we got arrested for stealing at Macy's, and we had drugs on.
So your thing was your way to get high all the time was by theft.
Most of the time, it always changed, or I would be with a guy who like provided for me. But yeah, because I wasn't good at it. I used to get caught all the time.
Now you said you know my friend Mandy.
Yes, yep. Yeah.
Are you still friends with her? Or you just recognized her?
I was in jail with her.
That's so funny that I happened to send you her video. You're like,
Oh.
because I know her from we're in a Facebook group called Dark Side of the Spoon, or she used to be in it, and then she left. But we'd always like comment on the same shit and became friends. I always make fun of her in the comments, and then we would just start talking and became friends. And she's really funny, and it's fun. I made fun of her so much when she said her and her husband used to rob Dunkin' Donuts. Like,
Yeah. That's when I was locked up with her at that time. Yeah, I see her on social media all the time, and sometimes we'll talk through like through posts and stuff like that. But she's changed her whole life around. There's not many of we were locked up. They're either dead or they probably went back. There's only a handful of people that got sober, came out, and like changed their life.
yeah, Mandy killing it. She does a great job. She's doing a great job with the kids, and yeah, she is. So yeah, it's good to see. What was that?
Tell she's all about her family.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, and she's one of the ones that like Rehab Romance actually worked out.
I know. I listened to that. I was wondering how they met. That's crazy. That just never happened. But that's why you what to do. Oh, you know, people try to say, "Oh, you're never going to talk to this person again. Someone's your running partner. You guys are going to break up." Like, you don't know what's going to happen with people. We're not God. So many people want to play God that work in treatment centers. Think they have all the answers. Nobody has.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. And how are your parents feeling? You know, your parents are pretty straight laced. Just people that smoke weed. How was it like? All of a sudden, you're in and out of jail.
Oh, they were completely disgusted with me. They were like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? You know, why can't you get? Why are you doing horrible?" But my mother was like kind of forcing me every time. Just like that's the only thing she knew to do was go and text me. And at least it stopped me from getting high for a month. It couldn't help me. Nothing she could say. I wasn't gonna stop. I didn't have enough contact yet.
And you said 2008 is the first time you gave it a shot. You tried to stop, or you were introduced to recovery.
Yeah, so that's when I started going to like halfway houses and stuff. So 2017 was the first time I actually was in recovery. But times I would just go to treatment because I had nowhere to go. Like I was homeless or I was in drug court or probation. Maybe there was always like an external reason. I never went to further treatment because like I wanted until 2018. I never was like wanted to change my life and was like I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
Now, what was it in 2017? You know, you're now jails. You're now to like shelters, and you're still getting high all the time. Getting arrested for stealing. When did you have your kid?
So I had my first son in 2012.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And were you able to stop then?
So when I got pregnant with him, I was sectioned. So I had got out of a section and I was kind of just like chipping a little bit and like I wasn't on a full run. So I was able to stop. And so in my mind, I was like, okay, maybe I'm like I do have control over this thing.
Yeah.
And so my pregnancy and my family was so proud of me. Like they were like, "Oh, Nick grew up." They thought it was just like, "Oh, she just needed to have a baby." In my mind, I'm like, "Okay, now I'm a mother. I would never choose drugs over my." And in the hospital when I had my son, they offered me Percocet, and then I like turned it down. And then I was like, I was going home, and I'm like, maybe I'll take them with me when I go home. And then I took a couple when I was at home, and like nothing crazy happened. When they were gone, they were gone. But I know now that it like taking those like set off that allergy, you know what I mean? And it even though it didn't happen right away and it took a month or two, I ended up relapsing. And so what had happened was me and my son's father, we went out to dinner one night and I had a drink and then ordered another drink. And then I was like, all right, well, the thought came in my mind, like, I want to shoot Coke. And so that's what we did. And then I disappeared for 2 weeks and ended up getting arrested.
Yeah, it happened just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it goes quickly, spirals. I could never really accept the fact that I was an alcoholic. I thought I was just a drug addict and that I could be able to drink. And I'm the type of person, I can't do anything. I can't even take because I will end up like smoking crack. You know what I mean?
But heroin was your favorite thing?
Yeah. I mean, if I had to choose between like benzos, coke, and heroin, I would always choose heroin.
Okay.
But in three things.
What was that?
Like heroin, coke, and benzos were like the three main things.
Okay. Yeah, it's a shame because Xanax would always get me all fucked up, and it was the cheapest one.
Yeah.
But I would always get caught doing something whenever I was on Xanax, especially stealing.
Yeah. But sometimes I wouldn't though, and I would wake up with like a pocket full of money. I'm like, how does this happen? Sometimes I'm like, maybe I should just take a Xanax and then everything else will take place. But then sometimes I would, so I was like,
Well, Xanax causes everybody to steal.
yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
on the show, they always tell me like Xanax makes them steal.
The craziest shit too, that like I don't even need.
Yeah. um. So you got in trouble in 2012 with you got a kid, and then it
Mm.
wasn't long before you started shooting coke and got in trouble.
Yeah.
And then when did you have your second kid?
Funny.
2020. Okay. So you
It
had your
was
kid in 2012. Your kid was 5 now. And what happened in 2017?
So 2017 was when I went to this rehab up in New Hampshire, and I was
What happened what happened to had led you to that rehab in New Hampshire?
so I met my son's father, the one that I had in 2020. So this was a different guy. I met him in like 2014, and we were just like homeless together and running the streets, and it was just a nightmare. I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And at this time, I didn't even have any open cases. I hadn't even been arrested. There was nothing legally making me want to go to treatment. But I had a friend who was like, if you ever really want to get sober, he's like, reach out to me and I can help you. You kind of like are just go. You just get sober, you go to these programs, and you put pictures of you and your son on Facebook. Yeah, I know that that's not true. If you ever really want help, reach out to me. So my boyfriend, he had gotten arrested, and I was running around Boston by myself as a female. It's just not it's not safe. It's like dangerous. So I reached out to him, need help. So that's when I decided to go. And it was February, so it was like starting cold out, like sleeping outside in the freezing weather.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. What this was your first rehab then?
No. This was the one.
This was your first rehab though that you went to on your own.
Yes, yeah.
And how long did you stay there for?
So it's a 30-day program. Unless you stay on as a monitor, I think you can stay there for like 3 months. But so it was 30 days where you go through the steps, the 12 steps. That's what they do. That's just the 12 steps.
Now, when you got out, you go back to your parents' house? They let you back?
No, I didn't go home. They obviously tell everybody to go to further treatment. And so I was like willing to do whatever. I'm like, whatever you guys think I should do, I should do. I wasn't trying to go to a certain place. And they recommended that I go to a sober house up in Portland, Maine. So I was like, okay. I was just open to doing whatever. So I went to Portland.
Okay. And now, where was your son at this whole time? The one that you had with your first boyfriend?
So my sister had taken him. So when I got arrested or whatever, and I went on that like coke run, I went to jail. I got 14 months. So my sister took him, and and then I didn't get him back when I got out because I just couldn't stay sober.
Yeah. Were you getting high in jail too for 14 months?
Not really. Only a couple of times. I was like working every day. I was kind of just like trying to get good time and just trying to get out of there.
And then by the time you got out, though, how long did it unravel again? Right away?
Within like a couple weeks, maybe a month. I went to a halfway house and then I left it.
Okay. Now, how was Portland, Maine?
Amazing. The recovery community up there is absolutely, it's amazing. It's a small community, like everybody knows everybody, but everybody is kind of like involved in the steps. Everybody is I don't know. It wasn't Boston. It was the people were, my friends, like my best friends to this day still live up there. And it's probably the best thing that could have happened to me was making the decision to go up there.
Yeah. How long did you stay up there for?
Almost 2 years.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it was probably like 20 months.
Okay, that's a lot. Yeah. Is this the clean time you're talking about when you said you had 2 years and some change?
No, it was after that, but this was when I almost had 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you go back to Boston event? Did you get high there or did you go back to Boston and get high?
Yeah, so my boyfriend at the time, he got out of jail and I had him come up there to go to a sober house, but he wasn't staying sober. He was relapsing all the time. And I had just had a bad day at work and I was like, you're getting me something. Like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I'm gonna drive to Boston and go get it myself. So I ended up relapsing up there with him. But at this point it was like fentanyl. So my body was like couldn't handle it and I was like going out all the time, overdosing, and we stayed up there for like 3 weeks run before I there, and they had like this intervention with me and my friend. And so I came back. We packed up everything in between my mother's car and my car, and we drove back to Mass. And I went to a sober house in Braintree, but I ended up overdosing in that sober house and getting kicked out and just
Yeah,
being
it's
a
kind of
mess.
why I laugh because it's Braintree. I've been to, I know about Braintree. um, how long? So you overdosed pretty quickly in that sober house?
Yeah. So my boyfriend, he came back too, but he wasn't sober, and he like had drugs on him, and I don't know. I just couldn't I just wasn't ready. I needed to be I'm the type of person where like I have to like go to treatment. I can't just like stop using and then go to another sober house and like hopefully like that obsession. But once I'm in it, I'm in it. So, even though like I kind of was like chipping at the time because I had went to a detox. I just did like 6 days and left. Like that's just, for me, I just can't really do that. Usually I can't do that most of the time.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. It's funny. You're the first person to use the word chipping.
Really?
Yeah, but I know exactly what it is. I know exactly what it is. It reminds me of Basketball Diaries.
Yes. Oh my God. I used to love that movie.
Yep. It's so funny. I used to watch that in like seventh grade and be like, "Oh, I'll never do heroin. I'll never do this." It's like, it does.
I know. You're like, oh, I would never do that. That's horrible. I used to watch it too all the time. I think I would grow up to be just like that. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
That's
that's
that's the first time I heard that word though. He uses that word when he's talking about, how it starts off and how it progresses. And he uses the word chipping. And that's how I've known that's the only reason I know that word is because of that movie.
I thought more people used it.
Maybe it's the thing used in Massachusetts because like, it's so funny. I live in Mass in North Carolina, Jersey, Pennsylvania, Los Angeles. And so like and in rehab in LA, I met people from all over the country. And people call things differently and everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So like even when I lived in Massachusetts and I was just smoking weed, um, you know, everyone called them different things. Like I call something hot box, and when you're smoking in a car with the windows up, you guys call it fish bowling.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm smoking a joint and it's burned on one side, you guys call it canoeing, and I call it boating.
Mm.
So like, I learned all these things from like living up there and smoking weed up there all the time. Because I primarily just smoked weed when I was living in Massachusetts.
Hmm.
Um, I would do opiates probably like once a month. I would get them sent up to me. But I was mostly just a pothead. Sorry. For people that don't know, we're recording in the morning. Now, 2017, you got some clean time. So that took up to 2019. What was your COVID like? Were you getting high during COVID, or were you staying clean during COVID?
No. So I was pregnant. So
Oh,
I
you
got
said 2020. Yeah.
yeah, I got pregnant in 2019. And I was sober at that time, at least for the beginning of it.
Okay. Well, when did you have your kid? What month during COVID?
April 4th. So it was like I had him a month, like 3 weeks after like the
Mm,
crazy, the hospital like lockdown. You
the
could only
lockdown. Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Now, what was it that caused you to relapse? Was it boredom or?
Okay, so when I was 7 months pregnant with my son, his dad, the one that was up in Portland and stuff with me, so he died, but I was still pregnant, so I kind of stayed sober through that, and I was like involved in AA at the time, even though, well, that was January, so it was like before COVID shut down. So I was like going on commitments all the time. I was going to meetings all the time. I was picking people up, bringing them. Like I was just very busy and involved, so I didn't really have time to like feel my feelings. Um, and then, the world shut down, COVID happened. I had my baby. I'm like just sitting at home with a brand new baby. And then my brother dies. So it's like, and then I just was like, I don't know. I got away from AA. I got away from kind of everybody. I felt isolated. And I was just looking for some relief
Yeah.
from what.
Your brother died from the disease too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a
Yeah.
heart.
He had a heart attack from it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He
I'm
had
sorry.
had heart issues. On my dad's side of the family, we had heart disease. I think that's what led to it, but had he not been doing meth, he probably wouldn't
Yeah.
have found.
Yeah. Now, and you had your boyfriend die when you were still pregnant. The baby's dad.
Yeah, that's my 5-year-old, the one I had in his dad.
Okay. And that was from an overdose as well. With a relapse and overdose?
We were sober when I got pregnant, and he stayed sober with treatment, and then he relapsed around like 6 months pregnant. So he had only been using for like a month and a half at the time.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Were you living together when it happened?
No, because I was in a sober house, and then I had just moved back home to my mom's because I couldn't stay at that sober house when I started. And he was in treatment, and then he left. He was homeless.
Okay. Now, you've been in and out, and it was just hard to keep time after 2020? Like in and out, in and out?
Yeah, I just really, I mean, there was a point. So I went sober after my brother died. My mother sectioned me again for the last time. I was and stayed sober after that for over 2 years. But I wasn't doing any work on myself and seeing a therapist. Wasn't going at any like 12-step fellowship. I just was kind of just abstinent and not really. For me, I have like mental health too, so like I have to. I'm the type of person I've always like I'll start taking something and then I feel better and I stop taking. I'm like I just couldn't accept the fact that like I have depression, anxiety, all these things like so not doing and like I said, like I couldn't really accept the fact that I was an alcoholic too. So I was working at the time and I would start to drink with people after work. So that like over 2 years goes by, almost 2.5 years. And so I would start to drink with
Yeah.
coworkers. But it was like normal. Like I would just have, an espresso martini after work or a glass of wine and I was able to maintain it for a significant amount of time before everything unraveled.
Yeah, because what happens is you have a bad day and then you drink harder and then that drink isn't hitting enough and you get high.
Yeah.
Well, it's the earliest I've done a podcast in forever. And I was in a hospital all day yesterday and I was supposed to have surgery and it was just a mess. So I'm just gonna jump on sleep. Plus, you said mental health. I deal with bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
And I was manic last week. And I was up for 5 days straight, like without sleep or anything. So I was so manic. And whenever your mania kind of dies down, you crash real hard. And right now I'm in that crashing phase and it sucks. But that's part of being bipolar. I see a therapist. I see two therapists. I see my individual therapist and I have a couples therapist, my wife and I do NA 7 days a week. So, I have to do both, because, I'm dual diagnosis. I'm mental health and addiction. I'm an addict. And I'm an alcoholic and I'm a lot of things. I'm a compulsive gambler. I go to GA on the weekends every Saturday. So, I have a lot going up in here. I always say that I'm addicted to the word more, like more of whatever's filling the void.
Me too.
What was it? So, and then what was in between getting last October 7th? That was when you stopped your run, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how long did you have before that? Like, how long was your run? And like, what led up to that?
So that run was almost 10, 11 months. So my boyfriend had relapsed before I did. So we were living in our apartment. Like things started to get better. Things seemed to like be going well. And then he relapsed. And I was able to stay sober for like 5 months. And then he went to detox. When he went to detox, I ended up, but I wasn't sober though. In my head, I told myself, but I was drinking. And then I started to do Neurontin and Adderall and Xanax, and I'm like telling myself that like I'm still sober. Like I'm like this is like a sober speedball. The lies I would tell myself. So he went to detox, and I had a friend come over, and we ended up smoking crack together. And then I needed something to come down, and so get some fentanyl. And then he left detox early, didn't know what I was doing, but came home, and I'm getting high. And it's like, okay, well, we'll just get high together at this point. And I picked up meth this last run, which just fucking destroyed me, and something I said I would never ever do, and makes you go crazy, insane when you're not sleeping. Not sleeping is terrible for you. To be up for like a week or more at a time, it would go on in my head was just insane. But it was like every day I would wake up, do a shot of meth, do a shot of dope, and take a Xanax every day. Like, and it was destroying me, but nothing could numb the pain that I was going through. I still was thinking like, I can't wait to be sober.
Yeah. Now, how do you work? For the last year, how have you been staying sober?
This last year?
Yeah.
So I went to detox.
What was that? You had what?
Had a seizure in detox.
Oh, wow.
So I was there like a day longer than I should have been. They extended it to 2 weeks because I was so sick. I think it's from like these pressed Xanax. Yeah. So I was in detox. I ended up in the hospital, and then I came home. I wanted to go to further treatment, but because I have my 5-year-old son, I couldn't. My mother had him. She couldn't deal with him. So I came home, but I had a PHP already set in place for when I came home. So I came to my mother's house. Well, I kind of between my apartment and my mother's house, and I ended up leaving my apartment within the next 2 months. But I was mostly staying with my parents. So I would just bring my son to daycare every day, and then I would go to the PHP, which was 5 days a week, 9 to 3. And it wasn't like a lot of other. It was 12-step based, so you write a 4-step while you're there, and the groups are mostly around the steps, but also they incorporate some other things too. So, and then I would go to meetings, try to make connections with people there. Yeah, like if I didn't go there, I probably wouldn't have stayed sober. I had to do something. I had never just gone home before and really stayed sober ever. I always have to go to further treatment.
Yeah, and I got introduced to TikTok. How long have you been making like recovery, like TikTok, like content?
So I started back in April. This past April. I wish I started back in 2020 because I would have been a lot further along. But
now, what made you decide to open like a TikTok like recovery page?
That wasn't the plan at first. I just wanted to be like do TikTok shop videos, and I thought I was like delusional. I kind of thought that people would just buy all this stuff that I would promote. But then I noticed when I talked about recovery a few times, those videos started to get more followers from, would comment, and people could relate to me. And so it was like therapeutic in a way for me to post recovery content and get all these positive responses and feedback from people. And so I just like continued to do it, and I just saw my following grow. And yeah, it's like therapeutic.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it definitely is. I've been doing mine for a while. All mine is clips from my shows. That's what my TikTok is now. And we also so we met through Tara. Tara, you know her from Maine, probably, right?
No, so we don't. We just know each other from TikTok. But it's so funny because she had lived in Portland.
Yeah.
I think now she lives more like upstate.
Yeah. So it just a coincidence. That's funny then, because I know her. Well, me and her met through TikTok as well, and she was supposed to be on my show August. And when I say August, I mean August 2024. And we've been trying to make a schedule work for over a year now. But we're friends on Facebook and we're friends on there now. And we've talked all the time about trying to get it to work. We just haven't been able to sit down. Either I'm sick or she's doing this or I'm doing that, and haven't been able to get it to work. But we're going to get there one day. If she's watching now, we're going to get this to work. So I think it's awesome, Nikki. You're doing what you're doing. I feel like what makes this time so different than before?
I'm just done. Like I was just so broken on this last run, and all I could think about was what I was doing to my kids and my family. I want my kids to know that I didn't give up and I didn't just say fuck it and go back out. And my older son, he's with my sister. I only have him 2 days a week, and I don't want him to think that I didn't love him enough. And then my youngest son, it's like he already has a dad that died from addiction. If I do that to him, I'm all he has. I lose him, he goes with the state. I don't have somebody who can step in and take him. And so I'm just in a different mind space. I think I was very immature for a lot of years. I think where I feel like I'm now just learning. The past few years, I've learned more about life than I have my whole life. You know what I mean? Yeah. I knew what I knew now. I never would have lost my friend. I never would have continued to use like I did. Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. I feel the same exact way. Mm-hmm. So, but we figured it out when we figured it out, whether we're in the 20s or late 30s like we were. So, I think that is great that you're doing a TikTok because, like you said, it's very therapeutic. Are you in therapy too?
I am, yep.
Yeah. Yep. And you're doing therapy and you're doing meetings, and being a mom serious. And do you see your 13-year-old?
Yes, so I see him twice.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you still have a relationship with him. So, and parents are still giving you a chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's amazing.
Keep doing
what you're doing, Nikki. It does stay clean and sober if you just want to. You just gotta want it and not need it. You know what I mean? When you want it bad enough, it'll work.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody can want it for you. You have to want it.
Exactly. You gotta want it for yourself. So it was so great getting to know you, Nikki. I know we both got stuff going on. But it was great talking to you, great getting to know you. And I definitely want to talk to you more soon, okay?
Yes. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Have a good day.